What's up, guys? Rick from DFS On Demand here with a preview for the RBC Canadian Open. Before we get to that, let's look back at last week's Memorial. Something I want to get into is more of a look back, maybe recap of the week that was, and if we learned any lessons. Good week to do that, considering I almost took down the Birdie tournament again, which is probably my favorite tournament. It's a $3 20 max. I just love the 20 max structure, and that one's got the biggest prize pool. I took it down at the Masters last year, had an 8th place finish last week. We ended up cashing for $1,280. If you notice, the Birdie is the top half here, where we had 18 of our 20 lineups placing. I got a lot of questions about that on Twitter. That's using my core cascading method. It's a method that I use to win the 10 grand at the Masters, so I talk about it in that video. But later in this week, probably on Wednesday, I'm going to be releasing a recap video that shows you the core cascading for last week at the Memorial. And since everyone always asks, here was that lineup. It was Cantlay, Schauffele, Scott, Horschel, Duffner, and Watney. So we'll dive deeper into that on Wednesday, but wanted to give you a little shout out. And I know a lot of people also won because there's a lot of the players that we talked about. Adam Scott, Patrick Cantlay on the show, Billy Horschel on the show last week. So shout out to everybody who sent me screenshots. Good job. All right. This week is the RBC Canadian. And I actually am going to show you last year because this is a new tool that is on dfsondemand.com. It's the historic strokes gained. So you're actually able to go back and look at any tournament for the last 4 years and see the results and check out what the strokes gained were by round. You can hover over these players and see, hey, strokes gained approach for each round, or however they scored up. So what I'm looking at is last year's RBC Canadian, which was held at Glen Abbey. That's not where they're playing this edition. We're going to be at the Hamilton Golf and Country Club this time around. But Dustin Johnson wins by 3 strokes, beats Benyon, beats Wee Kim, guys that you also see near the top of the leaderboard: Keegan Bradley, Abraham Answer, Danny Lee, Tommy Fleetwood, and then 3 guys to round out the top 10: Putnam, Snedeker, and Joel Dahman. This is a pretty cool little tool. The cut was -4 last year. You're going to need to make a lot of birdies again. I know it's a different course, but it's going to be set up in a similar fashion in which, Hamilton, it's going to be slow greens, right? These guys are going to make a lot of putts. They're going to make a lot of birdies. You're going to need to go pretty low to win. So let's take it over to the cheat sheet. 5 guys over $10,000. I feel like I say that every single week. Dustin Johnson leads the way at almost $12,000. They almost got him there. $11,900. Brooks Koepka at $11,700. Rory at $11,200. Kuchar $10,500. Justin Thomas $10,000. For the top 2, I'm not even going to probably try to split hairs here. DJ is your defending champion. He has destroyed this tournament in the past. I know that it has been at different golf courses. Both guys playing well. Dustin and Brooks, haven't seen either of them since the PGA Championship, where they went 1-2. This is strictly a game theory play for me. If you have an opinion and you like one significantly more than the other, go play them. I think it is very, very close. I'm going to try to see which one has lower ownership in GPPs, and I'm going to play that one. The rest of these guys here, there's actually some pretty interesting cases to be made. Kuchar at $10,500 and Justin Thomas, and actually Rory too. All 3 guys missing the cut at the Memorial. A lot of jaded owners because they were all pretty popular. So I think any one of these guys that you go and roster, probably you get a little bit of a discount on the ownership. So Kuchar's the one with the great tournament history. We use Hamilton Golf and Country Club, which is a 6,900 par 70. It's got 2 par 5s. Played on tour in 2012, and then I think it was like 2006 and 2003. But 2012 is the history that we have here. Kuchar is the only one of these top guys who played in 2012, and he finished 34th. I'm interested a little more in maybe Justin Thomas. So we kind of talked about, or maybe I tweeted it, he's probably going to have to shake off the rust a little bit. He's probably going to have to figure out what's going on. And I just want to show you his rounds last week. So Justin Thomas, if you remember going back to January 1st, Justin Thomas's strokes gained approach were like meteoric. They're unbelievable. He was just like the best player in the world by far. hits his wrist and hurts himself at the Honda, fights back, whatever. Here's what I want to show you. He lost 6 strokes on approach on Friday at the Memorial to miss the cut. That was pretty much by far the worst round of approach that Justin Thomas has had in the last 4 years, which is as far back as my database goes. What's actually funny is the other round, the round that was previously the worst, was also at the Memorial. So maybe a little something that doesn't fit his eye there, but I highly doubt Justin Thomas is going to lose another 6 shots or anywhere close to it on approaches this week. Putting was down, but that's kind of what we would normally see out of Justin Thomas. Strokes gained total, if I flip here, yeah, you'll see it. This makes it even worse. Lost 8.2 on Friday to miss the cut. I'm going to go out on a limb, say that doesn't happen again. He seems to be a guy that's priced at a pretty good value at the even $10,000 mark because it falls off a cliff after this. When you have Scott Piercy at $9,300, this has fallen off a cliff. A extremely top-heavy field here. So with that being said, I'm going to kind of jump around a little bit, but there's a few guys I want to point out. Let's talk Henrik Stenson at 9,100. The fact that he is less than Scott Piercy is almost insulting. Stenson's never played in the RBC Canadian. He's had decent finishes, but we've talked about him a lot just because it doesn't make any sense. Henrik Stenson just doesn't add up. His tee to green game has been too good for what his actual performances have been shaking out. So if we go and look at where he's actually finished, let's see, 28th at the Wells Fargo, 20th at the Byron Nelson, 48th at the PGA, 37th at the Memorial. They are not great finishes. They are respectable finishes. This field, much easier. His tee to green game, still very strong. I don't want to be a broken record here. I've said it a couple weeks in a row. I just don't believe that Henrik Stenson has fallen off putting to the point of like 1 extra stroke around. I don't believe it. He's leaving too many out there. I'll continue to ride this as long as the tee to green game is really good. The other guy that jumps out, a little bit unfortunately, I don't know how much I love playing him, but let's see if I can change this on here. Tee to green, last 30 days. How about Bubba Watson, number 1? $8,900. Gained a ton of strokes at the second round at the PGA Championship. Still ended up missing the cut though. But if you look back at some of these numbers, they're volatile. He's lost a stroke and a half. He's gained 3. He's gained 6. He's just kind of all over the place. So I wouldn't roster Bubba. I wouldn't feel comfortable rostering him in any type of cash game or any type of safety situation. But in a GPP for only $8,900 in this field where we know distance is going to be very important and we know that shot shaping is going to be very important. Well, when you put those two things together, there's no one like Bubba Watson. Then that's the name that comes to mind first and foremost when you're thinking about those two things. So Bubba's probably going to find a way into a lot of my lineups. I'm not particularly thrilled about it, but hey, that's the world that we live in. If I kind of live and die by this, I really trust it. So I think Bubba at 89 is a really, really good value. So I also want to look at approaches because what we've seen, this is not necessarily a long course, Hamilton Golf and Country Club. It's not long. You're going to need to be able to throw darts. That's why it's kind of not really a surprise that someone like Scott Piercy could win here. Right? He's a very good ball striker. If his putter gets hot for a week, he wins. So let's look at the last 30 days of strokes gained approach, which is what I have up on the screen right now. And no surprise, the guy that leads the way, Brooks Koepka. Then you get Sergio Garcia, Keegan Bradley, EVR, that's Eric Van Rooyen, and Henrik Stenson. So again, Stenson's name pops up here. Rory is the next, kind of stud on this list. He comes in 7th. And I also want to look at a little bit of opportunity to see if we can find anyone who strokes gained putting, someone who might have a really big differential. So let me see if I can do this properly. I'm going to sort. Here we go. Oh my gosh. Oh no, I did not know this. Okay, I'm in huge trouble. I'm going to play Bubba absolutely everywhere. This is terrible. So what we're looking at right now with this new tool that I have that I absolutely love is the last 30 days for each player in these stat categories and compare it to their 2019 season. It's season, not calendar year. This is season. and then look at the difference. So if you go to the negative difference, what that is saying is Bubba Watson, who is losing 3.4 strokes per round. That's per round. That's absolutely insane. That's per round. Compared to his 2019 baseline, which is about losing half a stroke. He's losing 2.9 strokes more than his baseline, which to me says he is going to regress back to the mean at some point. We are expecting him to come back to his average of just losing a half a stroke. Look at this at the PGA. Lost 3.7, lost 3. Was great at the Valspar. Was kind of bad at the Players, right? First round. So that is a very huge skewed number that the PGA Championship put on him, losing as many strokes as he did. This is a perfect opportunity to rebound on Bubba. Oh my gosh. If he gains strokes putting, he's in business. But if he just loses his normal half a stroke around, that's nuts. I mean, it's 3 strokes around. It's 12 strokes over the course of a tournament. It's unbelievable. All right, other guys on this list. Ricky Barnes, who I probably wouldn't play because he stinks anyway. Roberto Castro, Scott Langley, and then another name that we were going to end up playing, Justin Thomas. J.B. Holmes, another guy. J.B. Holmes, not a good putter, but not as bad as he has shown recently at the Memorial and at the PGA Championship and at the first round of the Wells Fargo Championship. With this also being a course where distance can prevail, I will tell you, I've already fired a bet on J.B. Holmes. I think I got him at 100 or 150 to 1. I don't have the number in front of me, but I've already fired a bet on J.B. So he will probably make a lot of my DFS lineups as well. All right, now what I want to do is I want to mention this really quick. I'll go to the course stats page, and the reason we're like 12 minutes into the video and I haven't brought it up yet is because we only have 1 year of stats at Hamilton Country Club. So while I have provided the course stats here for you, I'm not using them nearly as much this week because there's only 1 year sample and it was 7 years ago. I don't really think it's worth it. So you can come in, you can look at what the highest ranked stats are, and you can make any determinations for yourself, but I will not necessarily be following that as much as I would in previous years. And then where we'll end this video is I'm going to go back to the live leaderboard from last week and see if there's anybody in the field that we might want to target. So I'm sorting by tee to green last week, and I'm going to look for the biggest losers when it comes to putting. And we see that Troy Merritt, third best in the field in strokes gained tee to green, lost over 5 putting. He's not in the field this week. JT Poston, also not in the field this week, but his is actually really incredible. Gained 7 tee to green, lost 8 putting. That's super bad. Who else do we have that might be in the field this week? Lipsky's not in the field. KH Lee is in this field. So KH Lee, who gained 4.6 tee to green, lost 2.5 putting. I've actually also fired a bet on him as well. So he's someone who would be on there. Stenson was pretty bad. We have already talked about him. And that's basically it. Now we start to get into kind of the average tee to green player. So there's not too much that I would want to share with you here. Oh, and you know what? Before we wrap up, what we'll actually do is we'll go back to the cheat sheet here, and I'll just sort this by 2012 so you can see the players in the field who played here in 2012. Let's see if we can get the results here. Other way. Okay, here we go. So the winner was Scott Piercy. He's in the field. $9,300. Josh Teeter and Bud Cauley finished in a tie for 4th. I've actually, again, bet Bud Cauley, and he will probably make some lineups for me. I had a top 5 bet on Bud last week, and he almost cashed it. I think he was 2 shots off it. He was basically within the top 5 all week. Fell out on Sunday, but played really, really well. Has obviously had success here in the past. He's coming off that 9th place finish. Yeah, that's someone I could get behind. Scott Stallings, another guy, continues to, well, no, wait, hold on. Let me actually pull up Scott Stallings' numbers here because he's missed 3 cuts and then he had that 48th place finish at the Memorial. But why do I think Scott Stallings has been playing better than that? Maybe I'm crazy. And maybe I am. So this kind of makes sense. What you're seeing from Scott Stallings, and this is probably why I've heard his name quite a bit, is some really volatile scores. He gains 4 strokes tee to green, gains 5, loses 3, loses 4. He's just kind of all over the map. So maybe I've just seen his name because it's been like 1-round spurts that are popping off. But he is someone that played well here the last time we saw Hamilton. Here's another guy. JB Holmes pops up again, finished 15th in the last edition here. And then a couple of names to round out the top 20. Let's see, Cameron Tringale, Ryan Palmer, Will Claxton. Won't be playing any of those guys, most likely. Brian Harmon's on this list. Any big missed cuts? Not really. Furyk missed the cut last time. Again, this was 7 years ago. I'm not putting too much weight on it. But Furyk is the biggest name that missed the cut here. So not a ton of huge names missing it, but kind of fun to look at. All right, that's it for the DFS preview for the RBC Canadian. Let me know what you're going to do with these two guys, Scott Piercy and Henrik Stenson. They're a couple $100 apart. Am I nuts for continuing to ride Henrik Stenson, hoping for that putting to rebound, or should I go with someone who has a proven skill set and a proven track record at Hamilton, which is something that we haven't seen for a lot of guys? Let me know who you would play in that situation. Tweet me. It's at DFS On Demand, or leave a comment below. Talk to you guys soon. See ya.